Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Good morning. Oh, so happy to be here and look out upon you and share these words of wisdom from many teachers that I reference. And I spill through a few of my own thoughts. But before I begin that, I just wanted to have the mothers that are with their child today, if they could just stand up like you drug your child here, kind of a thing. Look at that. Would you look at that? Yeah. You drug your child here. Yeah. But before you sit down, I know your child is not right there, but I want you to, can you just do a group hug, like go hug your mom? So, because my mom's not here. I want us to feel that sense of, yeah, the hug. The hug. There you go. That wonderful, wonderful hug. Yeah. So the little butterflies that bless you today is a gift in the consciousness of the Divine Mother. That is the gift for all of you, to share that knowing that the wisdom of the Divine Mother dwells in you as you. And today is a day we honor that consciousness, that idea. And Damien reads this beautiful poem of the Mother's Eyes from Paramahansa Yogananda, one of my teachers in a lifetime. And I just honor you so much for the heart with which you read the words, and to recognize that in the concept of the mother, we are so loved and blessed in so many ways. And when we recognize that depth of love of the mother, our hearts opened and we are illumined in our ways. So when he read the poem, and my mother has blue eyes, but I see her eyes sitting in her little care facility, not having a clue what's going on, but she's so precious with it. When I call her, I say, "How are you?" "I'm great." She knows my name. Thank goodness she still knows my name, but she'll always say, I said, "What'd you do today?" "Oh, don't ask. I don't know." She's so much, I tell her, she's a student of Eckhart Tolle. I said, "You are so in the present, Mom. It's what we're all working so hard to do and to be." And she's just right there, because there's always a spark of joy. But I found my mother's love. So sweet. I want you to also know that the little message on there, at the 9 o'clock service, I told the men they had to go try to seek one out to know the truth. So maybe that'll be your challenge too, if you didn't pick up one for yourself. But that's the truth behind the message today. And the idea is focusing on the gift of fear. And I'm talking about that. The whole title is Creativity. We're looking at our values and how we create in the world. And how do we move from fear to courage and all that we long to do? And I spoke a little bit on the 9 o'clock service about the power of illumination and the power of the divine light. And in the beginning of time, in the scriptures of the Bible, in the days of creation, there was that phrase. And what was that? Do you know? Let there be light. Let there be light. And there was. This is the days of creation. So when we personalize that, when we take that idea, let there be light, we recognize that that is what is called forth, the spirit within us. Will you all look this way? Oh, her son. Oh, that's okay. Say it's okay. It's okay. Happy Mother's Day. Just kidding. Oh, where was I? Bring it back, God. Bring it back. But so I focused a little bit on that at the 9 o'clock service, and I extend that thought more into the idea, this concept of what is this fear, this idea of an emotion of fear. And a lot of us recognize what fear is, what is behind fear sometimes, causes us to doubt ourselves, to cause ourselves to shrink back and not allow the power of what we want to do to really, really be expressed out into our world. I want to speak to that because I speak to a group of you that I know have this power and this urge to create a better world, to create a sense of peace with all beings, within your heart and with all the people that you share this world with. So I want you to sit still for a moment, and I'm going to speak to you. You can keep your eyes open, but just listen for a moment to something in this room. Listen with all your attention. Let your shoulders drop. Let the mouth open just a little bit. For you might not know, as the mouth opens, the ear opens just that much more. Listen. Lean towards whatever it is, the slightest sound of someone breathing, a rustling of paper, the sound of the air. Listen. And then feel your eyes seeking out what is the source of that sound. What is that? Leaning. And then you welcome fear. That's what it is. You didn't know that. That's the emotion of fear. It's subtle. And in the words of wisdom from this particular author, Carla McLaren, she's researched a lot about the emotions. She explores them all in great detail, and she names this one as fear, as this free-flowing fear. Not so scary, was it? But it's what draws our attention. It's what we allow ourselves to be alert to. In the language of emotion, she writes this, that fear allows us to hone in on our senses, and it is allowing us to alert our innate survivor skills, and it increases our ability to respond effectively. You see, when I had you there, you were focused, centered. What do I hear? You became capable. And you think that fear is something that is supposed to be scary or haunting. And now I add a piece of Eckhart Tolle's wisdom here as I was watching one of his videos, and the question was, what do I do with my fear? You always hear about fear and love, fear and love, fear and love. He said, keep it down here. Keep it down here. And he puts his hands like that, keep it down. Let's go to your song. But you keep it down. And I was puzzled with that. And he said, don't let it come up into the thinking mind, where then we attach a story to it, a familiarity to it, a suffering to it, a disappointment to it, whatever it is. So we have this emotion, which just is. It's part of God's spirit, God's design, moving in us, propelling us, guiding us, stirring us, keeping us awake. It's sending out these beautiful messages through hormones and different aspects of the physical being that is telling us, go here, go there, stay away from that, be alert to this, drive carefully, open your eyes, listen, don't do texting while you're driving. All of these things, be alert, free, flowing, fear. Not such an enemy of the self. So important to look at that. But as you become more familiar with this free-flowing fear, and again, not the moods of fear, which the moods become very quickly, it will shift. Someone was describing it to me after the 9 o'clock service. Yeah, I feel that. And then, poof, it finds a place to think. It finds a place really fast. It just goes like a magnet. And then I'm worried. I've got the worry started. That's a mood of fear. I've got anxiety. I've got trepidation. I've got terror. I've got panic. If I think about this too much, and that's what he says, Eckhart Tolle, keep it down here. Keep it as your gift, as your God's gift, to keep you moving forward, to keep you in that creative flow of God's design. So often we hear that phrase that fear is the absence of love. And that is when fear starts to overpower us and overwhelm us until we are paralyzed by the fear. So I'm just asking you, you could be right now debating in your mind, say what? Fear's not that. I know what fear is. She hasn't lived my life, and I haven't. But I'm asking you to take a peek at another way, to look at God's design in you, as you, to look at this concept of a beautiful emotion. Just as love can stir us, so can fear, can move us into an idea to get ourselves dare to do it, dare to do it. And that's where Ernest Holmes, in his writings, all through his creative thought, all through creative principle, dare to do it. So whatever is stirring in you now, do you dare to do it? Whatever the world is calling for you to do, are you daring yourself to do it? To bring yourself the courage and the voice to know that I stand in my power and I stand with the divine, knowing that the divine lights my way, lights my word, and I am the conduit of that truth. That's what a spiritual disciple is truly called forth to do, to stand in power, to move with the source of all that is, and act with love. And the moment that a story I shared from the first service from Eric Butterworth about a blind man who maneuvered his life all around because he followed the light, he followed the inner light, he was the light, he followed the light. What shut the light down was the moment he discriminated against anything, the moment he had envy, the moment he didn't like something, didn't love someone. Light shuts down. Dimmer and dimmer. And we still try to operate. We're still moving along, but we've lost that aspect of the divine light, that divine love that flows through that light. So I ask you to ask yourself, what have you got so comfortable in yourself thinking what love is and what fear is? Sometimes we just get so used to something that we've named long, long ago. And then when somebody says, can you look at it this way? Can you turn it like this and see it this way? You can go, oh, wow. Oh, wow. And you can shift so fast. This is kind of a boring story, but I'm going to tell you anyway because you're sitting out there and I'm up here. But I do these studies at work on people that have syncope or fainting spells. Syncope is fainting, lightheadedness. And they can't figure out what's going on. And there's this pathway of the brain, this neurogenic pathway. And we have this component in the brain, and we have these receptors all through the body. Aren't you glad I'm a nurse? Yeah. Okay, but stay with me here. So we got these receptors, and if your blood pressure drops low, these receptors will say, hey, buddy down there, I need you to constrict. I'm losing it. I'm going to faint. And down they go if those constrictors and that pathway and that message isn't working. So I put people on this very boring board. They're coming in for a tilt test. They can't wait. They think they're going to be on a kid's tilt-a-whirl. But I say, no. You lay on this board flat like this. I strap them all in case they do faint. And then I bring them up just to 70 degrees. 70, not 90, 70. And they stand there strapped in, not moving, and I watch their blood pressure. And I talk to them, and I get the most amazing stories. And I try to make them faint, which is mean. But then most people pass that test, nothing really happens. At the end of the test, I take them back down to this, flat. And I'll say, now this is a half hour. And then they'll go, I'll warn them. I said, it's going to feel like I'm standing on your head, but I'm not. I promise you. I lay them down. Oh, you did put me on my head. And I said, no, you're flat. No, I'm upside down. I said, no, you're flat. No, I'm upside down. That's only 30 minutes. And I said, it'll go away in just a moment. You'll be set right again. Do you see what I'm trying to say? That the influence of the mind is so quick. That was just 30 minutes, and their whole world was like upside down. And I was trying to convince them, no, you're flat. So I look at this idea of the the familiarity we've had with many concepts as we've matured in our life. And I'm asking you just to go visit that again. What is love? What is fear? And recognizing that, yes, fear does include anxiety and worry and all of those things that is fear when it's out of balance. And all of that allows your focus then to diminish. It obstructs the creative flow when you allow fear to be off balance, to be overwhelming. You see, it obstructs the light. It obstructs that creative flow, as the blind man told us, that he could not see as well from within when he stopped his loving flow. So the truth of fear is it's an intelligence that takes over our bodies and minds and our emotions, and it turns us into being surprisingly masterful lifesavers. She says this, in fact, in those times when we are sure we feel no fear, when we are completely focused, brilliantly instinctive, and amazingly resourceful, those are actually the times when our fear is flowing freely. You are engaged with fear when you are driving and checking mirrors, easing in traffic, signaling. Your instincts are engaged in the free-flowing fear. You're scanning and changing your environment, and when you let fear flow through you and you allow it to keep you focused, to keep you lucid, you're able to respond effectively. It's a flowing state. Get this, it's your protection, so you welcome it. You see, Eckhart Tolle says, go down there. Keep it down there. What is it? Kind of think about it down here. Kind of get engaged with it. Because you're being so focused, and as you scan and allow this to be your truth, it alters your behavior. And you begin to trust this instinctual feeling, this energy, and it's called instinct and intuition. Yeah, it's called your intuition. That's what it is. It is the vehicle, it is the awakening of your divine intuition. So I ask you, what do you fear? If I bring that up, what do you fear? And can you and are you willing to love it? And not the kind of love like, Sue loves, snakes. It's not like that kind of thing. It's more so of that agape love, that free-flowing love, free-flowing energy of fear, of love, of all of the ideas of God's grace flowing through you. Let me love that. Let me tap into that. Let me follow that. Let that be my light. Let that be my light, and let me be guided by that, and then let me be now the conduit of that. So what moves through me now is God's grace, because I have chosen to tune in. I'm on the right channel on some here. So I ask you, what bruised you as a child? Just kind of think on those things as we talk about this, because it is in those moments of deep, abiding innocence. As a child, something wounded you. Some misconception attached to you. And that is the key to your healing, is to recognize, what was that? What was mine? I had an aunt that loved my older sister a lot more than me, and she was 5 and I was just 3. And so what did I do with all of those moments where my aunt was, flaunting over my sister? I was continually feeding to myself, I'm not good enough. I'll never be good enough. I'm not Bonnie. I'm not. And my self-worth would diminish. Was I really seeing that? Or was my sister just more demonstrative, so she was getting more attention? I don't know the rest of the story. I painted it with my brush strokes. I painted it with my suffering. And so now I grow up, and this idea, can I be the minister here? I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. But the power inside of me, the God knowing inside of me, my fellowship and my love, my agape, vast, amazing love for each of you, stirs in me and says, yes, you are. Yes, you are good enough. I didn't, I didn't mean to, way to go, Sue. I wasn't going there, but thank you. That's kind of embarrassing. But I look at these moments, and Ernest Holmes, in all his writings, he says, dare to do it. Double dare. I dare you, do it. And that's what's being called for here so powerfully. We have a stirring. That church has nothing on us. But we have this sense of feeling like there is something longing to be birthed by me, as me, through me. And I align with the light. I align with the divine. I say my prayer of heart, and I move. I move with that divinity in my being, and I ask for that fellowship with the One to mark my way, to set me on my path. We can't do it any other way. Any other way, we're suffering. We become small and doubtful and insecure. But when we put the divine first, and we do our spiritual practice first, and it can be as simple as, Lord, get me through this day. Yes, my dear. Yes, my dear. Versus complaining and whining and setting it up. You can see and feel the difference of that. So, whatever bruised you and whatever allowed you to cop out of your creativity, it's been ingrained in you, but you can heal that. So this idea of judgment and really, what do you care, we can have these moments of insecurity, but really, does it matter? Do the right thing anyway. Do the right thing anyway. Can you surrender? This is what it means. Can you surrender to be the divine instrument that this world is calling for you? This sweet young man is getting ready to go off to college, and you've got a lot to do out there because we elders are relying on you youngers to make things right again, okay? So, but you allow yourself to surrender, to turn the fear into something that's more familiar and deal with things step by step, step by step. Allow the fear to focus you so you can act and move consciously. So what story do you keep telling yourself over and over to reinforce your feelings? And when did you first feel that way? That's the way to start to pick it apart and to look at it. What happens when you tell yourself the story and believe it? You don't have to deny that something happened. It did happen. But now look at the memory and the story that you've been holding for such a long time, and all your conclusions, all the ways you've been stifled. Just see it as a memory. Just look at it very carefully. And you can feel that any worry or anxiety might start to nag at you, might pull you back. Don't ignore any of it. Just look at it all and find what has overwhelmed me so much. And let me remember this idea of this free-flowing energy and welcome it as a messenger. Thank it for its help in allowing you to name that fear so that you can now act and empower yourself to change from the depths within. It is your gut instinct. It is your survival. This has been your guardian. So we confuse it with thoughts. We confuse this free-flowing fear with the aftermath of whatever happened. And there's a wonderful teacher, Adi Shanti, and he says that deep-seated pain stays in us, held by unconscious conclusions we are making in the moment. So it was unconscious. We're innocent. It was an unconscious moment. When we experience this deep sadness, grief, anger, or fear, you want to feel that there is a freedom within you that can lighten it. So I'm moving through this to ask you to experience an emotion and feel it. Keep it down there. Feel it. What is the message? Bring it to the light of your awareness and just be with it. And feel that as you look at the fear that you've held oh so long is just itself pure consciousness. It's free-flowing. You're surrendering. You're listening to the message. There is a gift that fear is longing to tell you. It's speaking in your heightened intuition now, your focus, your clarity, your attentiveness, your readiness. Listen, what action should be taken? a student of Troward, says, to get good results, we must properly understand our relation to a great impersonal power we are using. See, fear is not the bad one. It's impersonal. It meant you no harm. It's an intelligence, and we are intelligence, and we cooperate together. We are aligned with the divine intelligence. We must not fly off in the face of the law, expecting us to do for us only what it can do through us. We must therefore use our intelligence and our knowledge that is acting as the instrument of a greater intelligence. We use ours aligned with the greater. We don't want to play small anymore. We ask for that divine urge to propel us forward because we have a knowledge, and all the anxiety around it ceases. Our bodies are always trying to release this trauma. We're always trying to let go of the suffering. That's why we keep spilling the story out. But call back into your mind that moment of suffering, and then stop the story. Tell it a few more times if you want to, if it's real juicy. But then stop the story and look at so I had an aunt that loved my sister Bonnie. How wonderful is that? And all the other garbage, I'm done. I'm done carrying that. I don't know if it was true, but it held me back. So witness it. Find your truth. Let it flow. And what happens when you allow yourself to unblock this area inside of you that has just been operating on a whim of thought, that you associated this with that? If I did that then, let me associate it with this and a higher thought of greater good. And you become empowered. And your creative urge flows with great courage. And there's moments that you'll kind of fall back if you're not holding the light, if you haven't done your practice and held to the truth of the light of your morning practice. It might come back. But Adashante asks us to go back. Find what has been held for so long and feel freedom of lightening it. Feel it. Loosen its story in you. In the beginning there was light, and when it was spoken, therefore it was light. There's this beautiful meditation that Reverend Mary was sent to me in a dialogue she was having with practitioner student Jamie. And it's this beautiful meditation that I wanted to share with you. So, Judy, thank you. If you could play, she's playing Let It Be in the background, but this beautiful meditation, I just invite you to close your eyes and go within. And use this moment to begin sharing the light within yourself out into your world. Let it lead you. Realizing that I am one with God, and believing that my own mind is an inlet to the Spirit, and knowing that the Spirit is all power, all presence, I open my whole consciousness to the inflow of this presence, this power. I open my whole consciousness, feel that, the light inflowing, this presence, this power. And I say to my mind, you are to listen. You are to be still and know. You are to accept and to receive the divine benediction of love, of peace, of joy, and of happiness. And as you receive, so are you to give. I say to my mind, you are to listen. And as you receive, you shall give. I say to my mind, be still and know there is nothing to fear. There's no reason for doubt. There is no uncertainty in God. And I say to any thought that I may have that doubts this, you, this thought, this doubt, are neither person, place, or thing. You have no right to be here. I quietly turn away from you. I separate myself from you, for I know that there is no doubt. There is no fear. There is no uncertainty. I am filled with this God's grace by divine design, I say to my mind. I say to my mind, there is a pattern of perfection that's the center of your being. There is something complete and whole, something perfect and wonderful, and you are to let this divine person within you manifest itself in everything you do, say, and think. There is something complete and whole and perfect, and this divine is within you as you, and you allow it to manifest itself in everything you do, say, and think. Oh, I say to my mind, love abides at the center of my being, and divine givingness is mine. You are to receive this love, and you are to give it out to others. There shall be nothing unlovely in your experience ever again. Oh, if this led our way, there is nothing to be unlovely in your experience ever again. And if there is anything in me that doubts or contradicts this, I say to it, you have no power over me. I follow the light, I follow the divine. You cannot linger with me. Even now, you have no existence whatsoever. I follow love, I follow light. I am a conduit of this truth. And so I turn again to that inlet, and I open up my whole thought to it. Receive this benediction from heaven. They that seek the Lord shall not want any good thing. May you know in this moment that by divine appointment you have arrived, that you are awake and ready for the inspirational thoughts and teachings of our master teachers, the wisdom of Ernest Holmes, the power and the love of one another, the connection we hold in community as we build our reserves and we recognize that we are operating from a source that is so powerful, so filled with love, that we can do no wrong. And we give thanks. We give thanks for the humility of heart to allow ourselves to bow down low and to surrender to this truth. I give thanks for the fellowship in this room. I give thanks for the opening of the heart and the wisdom of the way. In the beginning there was light, and together we follow it and give thanks. And so it is. Thank you.